Hi everyone. This video is going to cover rhetorical situations and we're going to consider audience purpose and their place in effective writing. So first, there's some housekeeping stuff we'll go over. How are our grade contracts coming along? Remember, those are due at the end of the week. Those are due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So make sure you have those submitted. Um, how are we feeling about the workload? I know that many of you are taking several classes this term. Um, this week is pretty much the template for what the rest of the semester will look like. We have a handful of readings and viewings every week, and then we have some low stakes writing assignments. We have our discussion and our weekly writing assignment, and then we have whatever larger high stakes assignment we're working on at that time. Right now, we're working on the literacy narrative. Next will be the rhetorical analysis. Um, I hope things are going well in your other classes. I have all the faith in the world in you all. So, a rhetorical situation refers to the context in which a communication is taking place. It helps us understand the why and the how people use language to persuade, inform, or engage with others. It's made of a couple of different things. We have the writer, we have the purpose, we have the audience, we have the message itself, and then we have the context and the culture that this rhetorical situation is transpiring within. We always want to look at who is communicating. Actually, it would be great if I would go ahead and open this in viewing mode. We have the speaker or the person that's communicating. They could be a writer or a speaker that's verbally speaking, or just in general, the creator of a message. And then we have our audience. Who is the message for? Understanding the audience helps us shape the tone, language, and the approach of our own message. And when we understand the intended audience for a message in general, we can better understand the approaches that any individual speaker is using to connect with those audiences. And then we have the purpose. Why is the message being communicated? The purpose could be to inform or to persuade or entertain or maybe just to express ideas. We have the message itself or what's being communicated. This refers to content, ideas, or an argument being shared. And then there's the context. What are the circumstances surrounding the communication? This includes factors like time, place, cultural background, and any relevant events happening in the world that could affect how that message is going to be received. One of the keys to understanding and responding to a rhetorical situation involves connecting with a specific audience. Beyond simply writing to a generic reader or citizens of the world, authors use specific rhetorical strategies depending on their audience. An audience is any collective intended recipient of a text, whatever mode or form that text may take on, whether it's written or oral or visual. Um, for our purposes, a text could take on any of those mediums. And the person or group the author wants to influence. Before you can analyze how effectively an author engages an audience, you have to first think about that audience and consider their needs. You're going to want to ask yourself questions like who the author is addressing, professionals or an academic community. What background, interests, or values come into play when communicating to that audience? What context does the audience need? It could be situational circumstances or historical context, supporting details, necessary evidence. What style or voice is appropriate for that audience? What is the audience's perspective in terms of their likelihood to agree or disagree with the speaker? What should your audience do with that information? Is there a call to action? Think back to the last paper you wrote. Did you have an audience in mind for that paper, or did it feel like you were only writing for the teacher? That's something I really appreciate about grade contracts and labor-based grading. Focusing on the teacher as your audience can often leave us fixated on the correctness of writing rather than devoting energy to shaping our rhetoric to reflect the values of a specific audience. When you're writing in this class, I always want you to focus on a greater purpose of the text you're creating. It isn't always about who's grading it. And when you are out of college, you will be interacting with so many different people in so many different environments. I want you to shape your work to reach somebody other than me. Yes, it's important you put effort into it and you try to make everything as clean as you can, but this class is about practicing writing and thinking. And sometimes that means focusing on an audience outside of your instructor. I want you to do that. Consider your most recent Facebook post or Instagram post or Snapchat. You were probably super aware, like hyper aware of your audience and how what you posted or shared might affect them or what their reaction might be. You were anticipating their reaction and you were shaping your course, your post to fit accordingly. Knowing that you already have some experiences with audience expectations should help you understand the how of writing rather than simply what you're writing in relation to your audience. You have lots of practice in shaping what you say to fit various contexts. I want you to think about that while you're writing this week. And there are different types of audiences. The imagined audience, for example, could be an audience of your own construction and one that has broadly defined values and interests. We have the concept of discourse communities. These are groups of people who share common goals, interests, and ways of communicating, often using specialized language or jargon to discuss specific topics or issues. Think about the groups of people that you play sports with, maybe, or if you play video games online, you have friends and people that you play with that understand the jargon of that video game or whatever club you might be in, or if you belong to a church or whatever little groups or clusters of people you belong to with these shared understandings of um, the context and history behind whatever you're engaging in together. Those little interest groups, those are discourse communities. And you have so many of those. We take them for granted and we don't even understand that we're in them most of the time. But there's this shared understanding among people and a sense of camaraderie often. These are discourse communities and you belong to so many. I want you to be thinking about the different discourse communities that you belong to this week when you're drafting your literacy narratives. If you are examining how a certain situation in your life helped shape the way you view literacy, like reading, writing, and communicating, think about discourse communities. Think about if you play basketball or football or volleyball, your first job. If your first job you made friends and you shared um, those experiences together and you understand each other, this is a discourse community. Really think about that this week. And there are organized and intended audiences. These are specific groups of individuals who require more specific language and info based on your topic. Maybe you're writing to a group of economists who require technical or professional dialogue, or a local school board that needs comprehensive research on policies. This will be different for every situation. A key aspect of defining and writing to an audience is understanding how tone and style come into play. Style refers to syntactical elements like sentence length and word choice, punctuation. Um, your style should align with your intended audience. And then there's your tone, and that's going to refer to how your audience should feel once they receive your message. Think of writing an informal letter to your grandmother versus composing an email to your boss, or texting your best friend. There are different ways we are going to shape our work to better fit and meet the needs of our audiences. So that's all for this one. Really be reflecting on these ideas as you work on your literacy narratives this week. And remember, yes, I'm going to be reading your work and I'm going to be offering you feedback, but think about how you can shape your work to the audience of your choosing. It doesn't have to be me. It could be a letter to someone. It could be something like a blog post you're posting online for others to read. Who is your intended audience? Well, good luck drafting this week, you all, and I hope you have an excellent week. We're 2 weeks in, and the semester is going to fly. Um, if you have any questions in the meantime, make sure you send me an email. I'm always here for it, and I hope you're having a excellent start to the semester.